morning, church. It's great to see all of you this morning. I want to invite you to stand and join us. We're going to worship the Lord. Here we go.
Wait for it.
Search the world, but it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise and the treasures that fade, never enough. You came along and put me back together. Desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountains is the God of the valley. There's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. Better than you, oh, there's nothing better than you, Lord, there's nothing, nothing is better than you. You turn mourning to dancing, you give beauty for ashes, you turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into glory. We're going to introduce a new song to you guys this morning. It's called You Hold It All Together, and it's great. But it comes from, part of the song comes from the Psalm 27. And so I'm going to read part of the psalm here before we sing it. Starting in verse 1, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Down at the end it says, I believe that I shall look upon the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord.
You come at the right time, when I least expect it, never behind. So why would I be surprised when you deliver every time? On mountain tops, you stay the same. In valleys low, you never change. And I believe that I will see the goodness of the Lord. I'm confident as seasons change, your faithfulness remains.
You go before me, prepare a blessing, you made a way. It's more than I could imagine, more than I can fathom or comprehend. On mountain tops, you stay the same. On valleys low, you never change. And I believe that I will see the goodness of the Lord. I'm confident as seasons change, your faithfulness remains. Oh, oh, oh. God of my present, God of my present, God of my future, you write my story, you hold it all together. God of my present, God of my future, you write my story, you hold it all together. God of my present, God of my future, you write my story, you hold it all together. God of my present, God of my future, you write my story, you hold it all together. God of my present, God of my future, you write my story, you hold it all together. God of my present, God of my future, you write my story, you hold it all together. And I believe that I will see the goodness of Your faithfulness remains. Oh, you are the Alpha. You are the Alpha and the Omega. You're in the middle. You hold it all together. You are the Alpha and the Omega. You're in the middle. You hold it all. You are the Alpha. You are the Alpha, Omega. You're in the middle. You hold it all together. You are the Alpha and the Omega. You're in the middle. You hold it all together. You hold it all together. You hold it all together. I'm caught up in your presence. I just want to sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never want to leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you. I'm sorry when I've just gone through the motions. I'm sorry when I just sang another song. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. And I'm sorry when I've come with my worry, when I forgot that you're enough. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. I'm caught up in your presence. I just want to sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never want to leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything, and more than anything that you can do, I just want you. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will caught up in your presence. I just want to sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never want to leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything. And more than anything that you can do, I just want you. Sing, I just want you. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else, Jesus. Nothing else will do.
Father, it's just good to be in your presence this morning. That's why we're here. It's to meet with you. You are the guest of honor. It's not about us. It's not about the songs and the band and the lights and the building and all of these things, God. It's about hearing your voice, meeting with your spirit and your presence. And nothing else compares to that. There's no substitute for that. So we're not here to play religion. We're not here to play church, check boxes, and feel good because we came to a place. We're here to make your voice the first voice that we listen to, and your word the first word in our life. And so we need to encounter you today. And as we sing nothing else, God, the reality is if you didn't do another thing for me, you've already done more than I deserve. So we say thank you. And we just receive whatever it is that you have for us, believing that you are good and that you want to give your children good things. We pray this in your Son's holy name. Amen. Amen. Hi. How are things? How was your summer? That's still sort of going, right? It's still summer. The 100-degree weather coming tells me it's still summer, right? There's a few of you that I don't know, that I don't recognize, which is really awesome, that I can be gone for 10 weeks and new people can come to church. So we're glad that you're here, and I hope that we get a chance to meet. My name is Mike. They let me pastor this place. But apparently they needed a break from me, so they sent me away for 10 weeks. And I was on sabbatical, and man, it was really, really good. I can't tell you, everybody's like, well, what'd you do, and how was it? And it's like, you're making me tired already telling you these things. But I'm extremely encouraged by how you've stayed engaged, what's happened in our church since I've been gone. I drove around the block a few times to make sure I was in the right place. It looks awesome, the painting, everything. But I feel refreshed. I feel restored. Remember, that was the key word, right, that we were kind of praying about, was that I'd be restored. Restore passion, vision, love. All of those things are just like the last 2 weeks. You can ask Betsy and some of our staff, like they had to tell me, hey, you're not back yet. Stop working. Because I've been really itching. I've been itching to get back. And it's just really good to be with you. Next week, I'm going to just be sharing. Sunday's going to be a little different. Next Sunday's going to be different. I'm just going to share a little bit from my heart of like what God spoke to me about this summer. Right? It's going to be what's on Mike's mind, which is scary a little bit. The staff said I should call it Deep Thoughts with Pastor Mike. Anybody like Jack Handy fans? Any deep thoughts? Yeah, Deep Thoughts with Pastor Mike that aren't really deep. But God just spoke to me about a lot of things this summer. About some are for me personally, and then I think some are for our church. And I'm trusting that God will speak to all of us through those things. And so come next week with the Bible, with a pen, something to take notes with, because I'm just going to kind of share what I got from God this summer. And it'll be kind of a unique Sunday. But today you're actually going to hear again from Pastor Kurt. And Kurt and all of our speakers this summer and our staff did more than just kind of hold down the fort. I mean, they just raised the bar. And this summer, I've been watching online, and I've listened to every one of Kurt's messages, be forewarned, and all of our speakers, and they've been so good. They've been so good, and I've gotten so much from them. And they've really, I would not have been able to step away had I not known that we had a staff and a team that were ready to go and could just keep things going and jump right in. And so I want to take a minute. I want to honor all of them. Can we just thank them for everything they've done? He's been a little comfy in my seat, though, so this is it. Okay? No more after this. Till next month, maybe. Okay. Ed, why don't you come up? Ed's going to do some announcements today, and then we're going to get our Bibles ready and listen to Kurt.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Well, welcome, everybody. Hey, if you're watching us online, welcome. If you're new to us here, welcome. If you're old to us, welcome. Even if you're young to us, welcome. I'm welcoming everybody. Again, I'm Ed Woods, and I have a couple announcements for you. So first of all, I get to talk about Sunday in the park, and that is August the 29th. Yeah, the last Sunday of the month. Remember that big event where we bring everybody out to Porter Boone Park at 10 a.m., one service, bring a chair, bring some shade, bring a big friend, and he'll provide shade, whatever it takes, that would work. So we want to make sure that you also know that you should bring a friend, because that's a great time to sort of introduce somebody to Jesus in a casual setting and just have some fun together. Mike and I were talking a little earlier about that. You know, we're going to have, of course, the baptisms and the great outdoor worship and all of that, but we're not having the traditional potluck, still some of the COVID rules out there. But we're thinking, if you want to bring your own picnic lunch, there's nothing stopping you from that. So we'd like you to sort of hang out afterwards, and we don't want everybody to rush away. But think about it. You haven't seen a lot of people for a very long time, so it's a great time to see people that maybe show up at other services, and you can be with them. And rumor has it that there is a coffee truck that's going to show up. If you want that iced latte or whatever else, bring some extra money. It's going to be awesome. But that's always a really fun day and just a great time in the Lord. Also, I want to talk a little bit about baptisms in general. So if you want to be baptized, I know some people have called in. Some people have gone onto the church website, the mountainviewchurch.net site. Click on baptism, short form to fill out. If you're old school, you can go down to the lobby connection point and you can fill out a little form there, and that also works. So, hey, before we get started, I got a question I'm going to throw out. So, what do Olympic sprinters eat before a big race? Nothing. They fast. Huh? Yeah, see, I warmed them up for you, Kurt. Come on up, man.
Yeah, we've been on tour all summer. We have a wonderful Christian act. It's the Screaming for Vengeance Tour. I want to invite you to that. My name is Kurt Nybakken. My wife Brenda and I, we are the children's pastors here. It's great to be here this morning, and great if you've tuned in online. Have you ever been in a hurry? Yes. You're like, of course I am. I'm now I am. That I saw you. We got to listen to this clown again. How many times we got to listen to this guy? When's Mike coming back? For crying out loud, I got to listen to this buffoon one more time. That's why I've entitled this message, How to Treat Your Pastors with Respect and Love. All right? Not really. We are going to talk this morning about how God is not in a rush. God is not in a rush. We're going to be in John chapter 11, and I'd like to have you turn there with me. So you're ready in just a few minutes. Now, time is a funny thing. You can measure distance by time. Like, how far away is that place? About 20 minutes. But it doesn't work the other way. What time do you get off work? About 3 miles. Nobody says that. We don't say that, right? And did you ever notice that when you're at a stoplight behind a car, and the car in front of you moves up a few inches, you are compelled to move up too? You ever been there? I think we've all done that. Do we really think we're like getting closer to our destination by doing that? Wow. I thought we were going to be late. Now that I'm 9 inches closer, I can stop off for a coffee and a Danish. And a cannoli, maybe. But that's how we are. We're always in a hurry. We're always trying to find ways to etch out more time in the day. It always happens that way. So I'm on a plane recently, and we're taking off. We take off a little late, and the pilot gets on the intercom, and he says, we're going to be making up time in the air. I thought, isn't that interesting? We're just making up time. Wow. And so I thought, and obviously, by making up time, what they're doing is they're increasing the speed of the aircraft. And so I thought my question was, if you can go faster, then why aren't we just going as fast as we can all the time? Right? I mean, come on, step on the gas. No cops up here. We're flying. Let's go. God, though, takes his time. He takes his time when it comes to our spiritual development. All right? And God has been working on me all of my life. I have many construction signs up all around me. You always have to dodge when you go around me because of that. And because of that, God is not in a rush with your spiritual growth. All right? That's my first point right here. God is not in a rush with your spiritual growth. He'll use your circumstances to basically develop you, develop your character, and make you stronger. All right? That's what he's in the business of doing. And so John chapter 11, we're going to start in verse 1. Here we go. It goes like this. A man named Lazarus was sick. He lived in Bethany with his sisters, Mary and Martha. So the two sisters sent a message to Jesus telling him, Lord, your dear friend is sick. But when Jesus heard about it, he said, Lazarus' sickness will not end in death. He stayed where he was for the next 2 days. Who does that? All right? Let me put that into perspective. Family in the church calls me up. Kurt, you've got to get down to the hospital right now. Our boy is on the deathbed. He's got hours at best. And so I, in my right mind, get comfortable, make some popcorn, get comfortable on the couch, ask my wife, isn't there a new Marvel movie on? And she looks at me like, what are you thinking? What are you doing here? This is preposterous. You should not be here. Because there are only, Jesus can only do certain things. Right? There's only certain things only Jesus can do. And I'm not in that category. All right? So if someone calls me up and says, Kurt, you got to be somewhere, I'm somewhere. I'm not waiting around. All right? And that's just hypothetical, by the way. But we never see Jesus in a rush. You ever seen Jesus in a rush? Never seen him in a rush. Never in a hurry. Only one time in the Bible where God was in a hurry. And that's when the father ran to the prodigal son. But we'll come back to that. Verse 7 goes like this. Finally, he said to his disciples, let's go back to Judea. But his disciples objected. Rabbi, they said, only a few days ago, people in Judea were trying to stone you. Verse 11, then he said, our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep. But now I will go and wake him up. And they're going, wait a minute. You mean we don't have to go back? He's sleeping? Then he's going to be okay? If he's okay, if he's sleeping, then he's going to get better, right? And then we don't have to go back. And I love Thomas. He's committed, but he's kind of a killjoy. In verse 16, he goes, Thomas says to his fellow disciples, let's go to and die with Jesus. All right. Now that's quite a statement. But somebody else has died, and let's kind of like focus on them first. Now, I don't know if this happens to you. This happens to me. Have you ever been going through a hard time and you feel like the hard time that you're going through is just completely unique to any situation? Nobody's ever gone through this before. I'm the only one who's ever experienced this in all my life. You ever been there? And then we're reminded of 1 Corinthians 10:13, which says, no temptation has seized you, what? Except what is common to man. So what you are going through is common. Somebody else has been through it. In fact, another version says the temptations in your life are no different from what others experience. Or maybe you're going through a hard time and no one else is having a hard time. It's only you. Right? Don't mess with me. I'm having a hard time. You have your blinders on. You can't see anything else except your problems. And here's Thomas. He just found out that Jesus' best friend had died, right? And well, let's go die, guys. That's his response. Not we should go comfort our friends, not we should go help Martha and Mary, not we should go see if we can do something for them to help them out. No, let's go die. Because John didn't report any sympathy in this text here. I don't see it in here, and so I'm left to assume that they didn't have any concern for Mary and Martha. Right? When you think that you're the only one with problems, remember, somebody else always has a problem. There's always somebody else who has a problem. I got problems. You've got problems. All God's children got problems. We're there. God is in the process of developing all of us. We're all in the same boat. Therefore, don't be so consumed with your own problems that you can't see anybody else's problems. Problems do not exempt you from having to be sympathetic to other people's problems. You're not exempt. The disciples were so concerned about their own safety that Mary and Martha were not on their radar. And so while you wait on God, right, to come through for you in your trials and tribulations, don't forget to be mindful of others who are waiting on God as well. This is the one anothering that the Bible is always talking about. Love one another. It doesn't say love one another when you're well. It doesn't say love one another when you're doing good. There's no qualifiers, just love one another. So in verse 17, when Jesus arrived at Bethany, he was told that Lazarus had already been in the grave for 4 days. Remember, Jesus knows he's going to revive this dead man. But nobody else has seen this show, okay? They haven't even seen the preview. And so you can understand why they're upset. Not only that, Jesus missed the funeral. What friend misses a friend's funeral? Lazarus was dead long enough that his corpse stunk. It says that in verse 39. Martha said, Lord, he had been dead for 4 days. The smell will be terrible. And so sometimes God's plans are dirty and they're messy. And you're going, I know what that's like, Kurt. I'm in the middle of something right now that's dirty and messy. You ever seen the movie The Fly with Jeff Goldblum? Back in the 80s, he was a scientist, something went wrong, and he slowly transformed into this human-sized fly. By the end of the movie, Gina Davis is like, I'm still in love with you. Really weird. But honestly, flies are the grossest thing ever. All right, I won't go into it, but flies are gross. All right, let's just leave it at that. And so I was in Eugene. I was living down there, and I was for a while there. I was going to the drive-thru at the bank once a week. And every Monday I'd go to the bank, and this really nice teller was very friendly, outgoing lady. She found out I was a pastor, and so one day she said, Kurt, could you do me a favor? Would you officiate my wedding? I said, sure, I'd be glad to. So the day came, and it turns out we were out at a vineyard outside of Eugene. Never done a funeral at a vineyard, so it was kind of fun to be there, and we had a nice ceremony. And then after the ceremony, we went into this banquet room. And in the banquet room, there's a giant table, probably 40, 50 people around this big table. And I began to eat. And there were so many flies in this banquet room. It was like a plague. I'm not kidding you. It was not like just one or two flies flying around that were bothering you. No. Every time I would wave flies off of my bun or my glass, 10 more would land down. I was so beside myself. I could not get out of there soon enough. I had lost my appetite. I was completely distracted from trying to do what I could to minister to the family. I was to the point where I was about to stand up and go, Pharaoh, let this pastor go. Okay? Let me out of here. Get me out of this place. I finally left. And I got to think to myself, God has placed me right in the middle of that dirty, messy wedding so that he could minister to a family that barely knew Christ. And so sometimes you're going to go through things. You don't like it. But God has you there for a reason. Sometimes his plans are dirty and messy. And anyway, 4 days. He's in the grave 4 days, and that's significant, okay, because Judaic law teaches that a deceased person's spirit remains in the body for up to 3 days. And there's no hope. Now we understand why Mary and Martha were beside themselves, because they had, in their mind, were thinking there's no hope that he's coming back. And Jesus allowed their circumstances. Now he's going to turn around and use their circumstances to help grow them and teach them and give them a reason to believe. So in verse 21, Martha says to Jesus, Lord, if only you'd been there, my brother would not have died. Okay, so Mary and Martha, they're faithful people. They're very faithful girls, but there's nothing faithful about this statement at all. Okay, this statement has nothing to do with faith, everything to do with the calendar. If you'd have been here on this date, everything, if you just come through right now, everything would be okay. You should have been here on this date. In fact, Mary comes out a little bit later, says the same exact thing to him. We want things done right now. I stand in front of the microwave. Sometimes I can't wait for the microwave to be done. I stop it a second early. I cannot wait another second sometimes. I can't. I won't. Anything to streamline my life, I will do. If I could put the spoon inside the bowl, inside the cupboard, that's where it'd be. Anything to streamline. That's how I like it. Fill up the gas tank. You ever been filling up the gas tank? You know how that goes. You prepay, it goes really fast at the very end. $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9.91. $9.91.5. I'm like, take your 8 cents. I got things to do. Give me a break. And so I wonder if we are truly convinced that the only way that a miracle can happen is in our time. Do we ever think about that? If this is going to happen, it's going to happen right now. That's kind of how I feel sometimes. The only reason God can't move in His time is because we don't have time for it. We haven't put it on our schedule. It's not on our calendar. How's God supposed to come through and it's not on my calendar? That makes no sense to me. Let me see here. God, do you think that you could do me a favor and could you move in my life? Let me open up my calendar here, God. I want you to move in my life on Tuesday the 10th. No, wait, Friday. I have a hair appointment on Tuesday. See. And that's how we are. We think that. And God does not schedule miracles. That's not how He works. You have to wait. I mean, Abraham, he waited over 20 years for Isaac to be born. Then couldn't even wait. Then had to have had a kid with someone else. But Isaiah 40:31 says, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. You keep waiting. And God's going to give you the ability to do that waiting. And oftentimes we think, I don't have the strength to go through this. But the Bible promises that we do. You got to let God move in His time. You can miss out if you're not careful. You can miss out on a miracle if you're not careful. Cole, my son, was in the 5th grade, and our city hockey team came to the school, and they were doing a promotion day, and they gave everybody a ticket to a hockey game. So I had to go to a hockey game. I don't like hockey. I don't even understand hockey. All right? So I had to go to a hockey game. So I took him and a friend, and I wanted to give him the experience, and so we went. And on the way there, and I'm joking with him, but on the way there, I said, Cole, the only way that I can go and endure this is if there's a fight. I only want to go and see a fight. Because that's what a hockey game is all about, right? A good brawl. I want a brouhaha that I can remember, right? And so we get there, and the boys go and they find a seat, and I said, I'll be right in before the game starts. I'll be right in. And I go to the concession stand, and I'm waiting in line to get some food, and I'd like some popcorn. Well, we're going to have to make some popcorn, so you just have to wait a few minutes, okay? I'm waiting for the popcorn. 1 minute goes by, 2, 3, 10 minutes goes by. Still waiting for popcorn. All of a sudden, Cole comes right out of the arena, comes right up and he goes, Dad, you missed out. There was a fight, and you missed it. Remember, that's why you were here, to see this fight, and you missed it. I'm like, oh, man, I was so depressed. I was so bummed. I couldn't believe I missed it. That's the only reason I was here, was to see the fight. I had to sit there for an hour and a half watching hockey. But nothing more than them knocking that thing around. No fights, no nothing. Horrible experience. But I was with my boy, so I had fun. Regardless. Too many people are missing out on miracles because they're standing in line waiting for popcorn. That miracles are just like a hockey game. You never know when a fight's going to break out. That's how God works. You never know when it's going to come. You just got to be ready for it. So verse 23, Jesus told her, your brother will rise again. The best news they've heard all day. Your brother will rise again. She still didn't understand what was going on. She thought it was like in the afterlife he'd come back. And Jesus is saying to Martha, What you thought was the final outcome is not the final outcome. And that's how oftentimes our minds go. We think, this is it, I'm done. There's no other ending besides this. And that's not even the case. Even when things appear to be insurmountable, God can come through. So I change the oil in my cars all the time. And so Cole got a car, and I'm helping him change the oil. And I try to get it up on our ramps, and they won't go because of the spoiler, and I don't want to break the spoiler. And he's got a funny bolt, on the oil pan, and I can't get it off. And I didn't want to jack it up with those, little jacks because I don't want to get under the car and die. So I think we got to go have somebody else do this. And so we take it to Walmart. It's in the middle of the last summer, middle of 2020. So I'm hoping Walmart's open. I get there, no, Walmart's closed. No other place open. So we have to go to Jiffy Lube. No, I don't like Jiffy Lube. And the reason I don't like Jiffy Lube is because I've seen way too many videos, way too many rumors about how bad they are, how they're always trying to rip people off. I did not want to go there. It was against every fiber in my being that we would go to Jiffy Lube. So we go to Jiffy Lube. We get there, we pull up to the bay. What do? They scan the VIN number. They learn everything about the car, what it needs. This car needs synthetic oil. I'm like, I don't want synthetic oil. But it says it needs synthetic oil, but I just want regular oil. They're trying to rip me off and sticking it to me. I'm not going to have it. So I'm already amped up. I'm not this kind of a person, but I'm kind of amped up. I'm prepared for what's to come. And that's them ripping me off. So they say, fine, we'll put some 520 in there, and we'll be done. I'm like, thank you. So they usher us into the break room, and Cole has a seat, and he's just relaxed. I'm like pacing. I'm like, they're going to do something to me, right? Did you see the way they pulled the car into the garage? Ripping me off. I didn't like the way they pulled that in there. There was every little thing that they did, there was something wrong with it. And so I'm standing there, I'm waiting, and I'm watching the guy out there, and he's not doing anything. It's like, why aren't you changing my oil? You're supposed to get in there and take the oil filter off and, do some work. And the guy's just standing there like this with a hose. And I'm going, something's wrong here. This is not right. They're ripping me off. They're going to stick it to me. I just knew it. And so I opened the door to the garage, and I peeked out, and the manager or assistant manager's there. And I'm like, are they going to change my filter? And he's like, oh, yeah, it's done. I'm like, what? And I think he could tell that I was a little skeptical and I was having a problem that day. And so he invites me into the garage. All right? And so I go into the garage, and he leads me over to this staircase, which I didn't know about. And I'm looking down I'm looking down in their basement, and it's pitch black down there. I can't see anything. And says, I want you to go downstairs, sir. I said, first of all, number one, you want me to go down into the dark abyss that I can't tell what it is. Number two, you want me to go first? He's behind me. So I'm like, these guys are sticking it to me. Not only are you going to rip me off and not give me any oil, but I'm going to go down the steps into this dark abyss, and you're going to stick me in the back with a knife or something. You're going to take me downstairs, you're going to strangle me with all the other people that don't like your business. That's what's going to happen. And one step after the next, I'm going down, I'm going, God, please help me. Because I know this is the day. This is the day you've planned for me to die. And if you get me out of here, I will become a priest, I promise you. And that doesn't work because I'm already a pastor. So I can't say that. But God, this is the day I'm going to die at Jiffy Lube. I'm done. And we get down there, and he follows me down. I was fine, and he's showing me around. Look, there's the oil. There's our filters. I'm like, yeah, I bet. I'm sure that's how it goes. Keep your hands where I can see them. I still don't trust you. I think you're going to stick it to me. We went upstairs, and he said, you know, Mr. Nybakken, anytime you want to come over here and you can get your oil topped off within the 3,000 miles, we'll do that for you. Oh, I bet you will. I'm sure that's what you want to do to everybody. And I left. Cole left. We got in our cars. After I thought about it, I sat there and I thought, you know what? That was a pretty good experience. I had a good time. I mean, that was really nice. He showed me around. It was really a good time. He was very nice to me. And it was completely opposite of what I thought it was going to be. Will I go back? Probably not. Right? But I had a good experience. And that's the way it is a lot of times in our life. God allows us to go through something. We're in the middle of it, and we're going, man, this is not the way it's supposed to be. I'm not looking forward to this, or you know what's coming, and you're going, man, this is going to be a mess, and I'm not going to like it, and I'm not going to learn anything. I'm going to be a mess. And you wait around, and then God comes through, and you go, man, I went through that. You know, it wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad at all. And God's usually not in a rush. You know why he's not in a rush? Because he's got bigger plans than we do. Always has bigger plans. He's always got bigger fish to fry. That's how God works. He didn't want to just heal Lazarus. He wanted to bring somebody back from the dead. Because he is the creator of life. Right? And it wasn't a show. He was not about doing shows. 3 times in this passage, he says, so you will believe. That was his gut. That was his heart. That was everything about who he was. Just believe in me. And in verse 33, when Jesus saw her, Mary, Martha, weeping and saw the other people wailing with her, a deep anger welled up within him. He was deeply troubled. And verse 35 says, then Jesus wept. And see, this really reveals the intense love that God has for his creation, for us. This shows that he loves, that he also hurts and mourns over death. Jesus cares about us way more than we understand, way more than we'll ever make sense of. He's willing to be shamed for us and humiliated for us. So about the prodigal son. Okay, Luke records the story of the parable of the prodigal son. And as Jesus tells the story, he's talking about a father and a son who goes off and lives in riotous living, and then he wants to come back to the father. And as he's coming back, the story ends with the father running to the son. I thought, that's great, that's wonderful, that's how it should be. That makes sense. A father in his right mind ought to run to his son to get him back. But you see, there's a little more to the story than this, because we're not looking at this from the first century perspective. In the first century perspective, a Middle Eastern man never ran. They wouldn't run, because to run means to pull up your tunic. To hitch up your tunic means that you wouldn't trip, and to hold your tunic up means that you would show your bare ankles. And men didn't show their bare ankles. You know why? Because it was embarrassing. It was shameful. It was humiliating. And so now we understand why Jesus was trying to get the message across to the people, that the Father loved the Son so much that he was willing to be embarrassed and humiliated. That he would go so far as to be humiliated and shamed with the most terrible form of capital punishment that the world's ever seen, the cross. And then mock him and spit on him and say, you're not a savior. You can't even save yourself. And yet he chose to do it. God was willing to shame himself for you and me. And in verse 42, Jesus said to the Father, you always hear me, But I said it out loud for the sake of all these people standing here, so that they will believe that you sent me. Verse 43, then Jesus shouted, Lazarus, come out. Verse 44, and the dead man came out. And he gave his friend Lazarus his life back. This morning, I want us to make a commitment that we're going to slow down. You're going to wait upon the Lord. In Eugene, outside of our front door, was a rose bush, and the roses smelled like raspberries. You know what I'm talking about? They were the best smelling roses. And I'd always say to the kids, and I said this all the time, always take time to smell the roses. That's so important in life, to sit and wait. Our culture, we don't sit and wait. Don't have time. Slow down. Psalm 130, verse 5 says this, with all my heart, I'm waiting, Lord, for you. I trust your promises. And I'll be honest with you, there's been times in my life where God hadn't come through. He's had his own way of doing things. And it didn't mean, I wasn't in agreement with it, but there's also been times where God has come through. And the times he didn't, I still trust him. And that's the key. You can always trust that God's going to do what's best. What's something that you're waiting for God on? What are you waiting for God to do? I want you to think about that just for a moment. Think about one frustration. I think we've all got frustrations. What's one frustration that you've been holding on to? You've been trying to solve it in your time. It's time to let it go. It's time to let God come through for you in his time. But it starts up here with making that mental commitment, saying, Lord, I'm going to wait on you. I'm not going to worry about this anymore. What would life look like for you if all of a sudden you decided to wait upon the Lord? It's time to do that, people. The miracle can come. It's going to be way better than if it came in your time. Let's take a moment and pray. Father, I can't see around corners. I can't see over hills. And I wasn't designed and I wasn't created in any way, shape, or form to carry a burden. That's not how you designed me. You designed me to have a creator in my life who comes and bears my burdens. That's not easy for a lot of people to do, to lay their burdens at the cross. Lord, I pray that you'd help us to understand how golden that is. Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. I'm way better off when I wait. And help me not to worry. Gosh, it's so easy for me to worry about this situation that I'm in. Lord, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be a whole follower of you. That's what we're about here, being whole followers. You're going through what you're going through for a reason. It's about making you a better person. It's about making you faithful, committed, so that you can minister to other people that may be going through the same situation. It's all about one another. And I need you to help me with that, Lord, because I'm struggling. I want to give this over to you. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you so much. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, Mike.
Let's thank Kurt for that message this morning, and appreciate you, man. 3 times. You got to speak 3 times this summer. What I just learned, I learned a lot about God and Scripture, but I also learned that Pastor Kurt will wait on popcorn longer than he'll wait on getting his gas filled. So that's good. So it seems kind of like weird priorities, but whatever. Hey, I want to encourage you to be back here next week again. I'm just going to kind of share what God kind of did in my own life and my own heart this summer as I've been gone. And oftentimes what happens is God works something deep in a leader of a church, and then that begins to kind of emanate and flow out into the life of the church. And so really want to encourage you to be here next week and listen to that. If you're watching online, we're so glad that you're with us, and we hope that you'll tune in, or even better yet, if you're able, if you're nearby, come join us in person. There's a few seats here, right? Would you guys like the people watching to come join us in these seats? Yeah, come on in. There's room. Okay, cool. And I'll just want to reiterate about Sunday in the Park, right? Make sure that's on your calendar. Only one service at 10 o'clock, which should be good for you all because that's when you come here. Yeah, we aren't going to do the potluck thing, but we were just talking in the hallway with Ed. It was like, what if you brought a sack lunch or a little picnic set up or whatever, and you stuck around, and maybe you've invited somebody to join you for lunch afterwards, some of your church family, someone from your... That goes good with your message today, doesn't it? Like, let's just not be in a rush to get out of there at the park. Let's, hang out. And you remember when you could just, spend time with other people and it wasn't weird? Let's try that. Let's try that on the 29th, right? I also just want to say, and I'll talk more about this next week, but we're going to have a time at the park for us to reaffirm our baptism. Right? We're going to have a time of baptism, and please sign up if you want to be baptized or talk to me today or whatever. We'll talk about that. But for those of us who've already been baptized, we're going to do something at the park for all of us to kind of, I guess, just say replant our feet, right, and replant our flag and just say, you know what, I want to recommit my life to this, and what it meant to me then, it still means to me today, and I want to walk, because I think there's been this period of time where a lot of us are probably feeling like we got way out of rhythm and off track, and maybe in an honest moment, some of us would even say, I really drifted from my faith a little bit, and I need a moment where I can kind of recenter my life on Christ. And so we're going to do that communally in the park as well. And so just want to encourage you to make it a priority to be there. So great to have you guys. Feel free to hang out, talk, be friends, that kind of stuff. And we'll see you next week.